There's an intertwining of myth and art when it comes to the design of playing cards that frankly makes a lot of sense. In many ways, the pantheon of gods found across any number of mythologies makes for a great cast of characters when it comes time for a designer to populate their court cards. So you end up seeing a lot of decks built around the gods of antiquity, Greek, Egyptian, Norse. The Moirai, a deck by Steve West with illustrations from Bob Case, focuses on the Roman sisters responsible for weaving, measuring, and ultimately cutting the thread of life. It's a heavy subject to be sure, but it makes for a really interesting theme, one that West and Case attack in a very clever and satisfying way. This is one of my favorite decks. Let's take a closer look. The Moirai was a Kickstarter deck launched in 2016, and only one edition of the deck has ever been released. The tuck case is a matte black stock with white ink, and there's light embossing in certain areas. The front of the box features a double-headed eagle. It's a symbol synonymous with the concept of empires, and alludes to dominion over both the East and the West. However, one of the heads of the eagle, the right side, is skeletal with petrified feathers, implying that that side is dead, while the left side still lives. It's a motif that carries throughout the deck, and it was what initially caught my eye about these cards. The sides of the tuck advertise the deck as determining the lot of mortals, and you can read a tarot-like implication beyond just the notion of the Moirai, whether intentional or not. The back of the tuck box is a mass of intertwined vines and leaves, some dead and some living, with two leaves in the middle creating a yin-yang-like balance between life and death. The design is intricate and really eye-catching. It's certainly busy, but there's enough contrast and uniformity that it never really stops making sense. Slice open the custom seal, and the first thing you notice out of the box are the three jokers, although neither of them actually say Joker. Each black and white image represents a Moirai sister. The artwork is illustrated in such a way that you could link the three cards together in any order, in any orientation, and the thread running across the middle, representing life, continues uninterrupted from card to card. Each sister is also designed to carry forward the life and death motif, appearing as a flesh and blood woman in one direction and mirrored by a skeletal form in the other. It's actually a really cool effect. The three sisters are Nona, who unravels the thread, Decima on the opposite end, who measures it, and Morta, who's ready to cut the life thread short at any moment. Also included is a single ad card that includes the names of all the original backers on the Kickstarter project. It's a very cool shout out and a great way to feel acknowledged for helping the project come true. The only problem is the type is very tiny and you'll need a magnifying glass to read it. The backs of the cards are as depicted on the tuck, the same vines, however this time surrounded by a thin poker style border that I think works nicely. The pips and indices are custom and have a vintage feel. I especially like the long stem clubs and the concave edges of the diamonds. The layout patterns are also customized, although they are still highly readable. And the ace of spades gives us another really good look at the double-headed eagle. Up until now, the strict black and white treatment, with the only spot of color being the red of the diamond and heart pips, would lead you to believe that the quartz would also be monochromatic. But in actuality, the quartz are as vivid as they are cool, still very much in keeping with the life versus death motif. The line work has a woodcut vibe and the quartz have full color shading. The pinkish skin is a great choice and probably there to even show more contrast with the dead skeletal versions on the inverse ends. They are reminiscent of the traditional standard quartz, as each member carries the traditional implement, be it sword, axe, spear, and the queens holding flowers have another particularly cool detail. The flowers are also dead on the death side of the cards. The cards are air cushion embossed and feel great. It's a thinner stock and the deck farrows really nicely out of the box. Easy fans too, even for my very limited cardistry skills. The Moirai is a really well executed deck with a clear idea. The artwork is great, the cards are easy to read, making them good for gameplay and magic, and although the monochromatic back design isn't flashy, they look great in a flourish. The one drawback with this deck is the availability, or rather the lack of it. It's an older release, so as it stands, only one of the playing card specific retailers, playingcards.net, has it in stock. An eBay search turned them up as well, but as it turns out, one of the two listings I saw was also playingcards.net, so there you go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please help others find it by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Until next time, the gentleman is out.